Oh, this is so fun. I just flew in from California. My passion is about kids, and I have absolutely loved being with all of you from Egypt over the last couple of days. I also want you to know one little thing, and that is we parents make an enormous difference on our children's lives. My job is to help you look at tips, simple things you can do to make a difference on your children's lives that are easy. But if you repeatedly keep doing a few of the things that I'm suggesting today, and I'll keep talking about them later on in my workshops, what you'll be able to do is help your children become what we all hope, and that is more successful, happy, contented, self-reliant human beings. So, step one, if we're looked at, the number one concern that parents always ask me is, how do I get my children to listen? It's also the number one concern I have from wives who ask that about their husbands as well. So here we go. First of all, if you want your child to listen, I don't care if they're 2 or they're 18, the first thing you've got to do is an old teacher tip. Warn them first, because we're feeling a lot of kids are having a tough time with concentrating. They're not focusing as well, and they may be already concentrating on a game or TV or whatever their homework. So you just say, in a minute, I got to tell you something important. Then, when you get their attention, tell them to look at me. We're looking at a lot of kids who would rather text than talk, and eye contact isn't there. Look at me when I'm talking to you. Number 2 is you can get down with little critters to eyeball level. Use a teacher tip. Lower your voice, don't raise it. The fascinating thing is kids are far more likely to tune into you if you lower it. And then what Yale University says is make the statement you want quick and brief and add a period at the end of it. Too often what we do is we ask a question, would you like to, or you think it's time to do your homework? If you want your child to do something, add a period, make it brief, and then do one other thing. Tell them to repeat it. If the child repeats back what you've just said, what you're actually going to be doing is training your child to listen. That's tip number 1. Here's tip number 2. You want your child to have higher self-esteem, to feel good about who they are? One of the simplest things you can do to boost self-esteem in your child is use your words. Not things you buy, but your words. And what you want to do is help your child plant in the kind of images you want your child to have about him or herself. Just make sure they're true, they're earned, and they're deserved. And a simple little thing you can do at nighttime, I have 3 boys and they love this. For littler kids, is you do a strength talk. You just take their little hand in yours, and you want to tell them 5 things that you want them to know about who they are. Repeat the same kind of 5 things, but here you go. Number 1, you're so kind. And then always in your praise, here's a tip, parents, use the word because. If you just tell your child because you're kind, they're not likely to know why they're kind. But if you say, you're kind because you helped Grandma, or you're kind because you helped that little boy next door, you're so kind. Or you're always so well-mannered. I love how courteous you were today because you said thank you. If you keep adding a strength or a tip each day, and you use the same 5 strengths or tips, what will happen if you keep repeating them is your child will begin to internalize the image. That's really what you're looking for. A big mistake we do in praise is we praise them when it's not earned, and therefore it's not going to stick because they're not going to believe it. And the second thing we do wrong is we don't say it often enough. Our words become our children's images. Here's another one. If your child does misbehave, which they will, they're kids, here's a simple little thing you may want to do that we know we may be doing wrong. We automatically say, why did you do that? Instead of asking why, refrain it and ask, how did you want that to turn out? Children are more likely to help you figure out what they did wrong and flip it around by thinking it through if you just give them that simple little question. Homework. Anybody got that as a battle? We're finding a lot of children have a lot of homework and they get anxious, and the anxiety goes up, particularly as they get older and they have a lot of work. So a simple tip you may want to do on this one is tell them, number 1, when it comes to homework or anything that they have to do, you can get a set of Post-it notes. Maybe they have 5 tasks to do, or maybe they have 8 tasks to do. But the first thing you do, whether the child is 5 or 14, is you tell them to open up their agenda or their organizer. and figure out what's the homework task you need to do tonight. Then what you do is on each Post-it, you have them for little guys draw. I need to do my spelling, then I need to do my math, and they're just drawing like a number or a spelling. With bigger kids, they're actually writing it out. Now put it in the order you're going to do. The fascinating thing is a lot of children don't have time management. They get themselves stressed out. I got so much to do, what do I do? But here's a couple of things that you can do that are kind of cool. As the child is actually doing the items, they take each one and rip it up as they do it. The other thing you always want to suggest your child do, particularly kids who are heightened in anxiety, do the hardest thing first. Because what's happening is they're worried all night about, oh gosh, I got to do that science project, or gosh, how am I going to study for that math? If you do the hardest thing first, you won't be thinking about that all night. Your anxiety will go down, and now you got a better chance to do. Another thing that we find that our kids are doing, as children have more and more and more and more and more and more in homework, and you know that's going on, particularly as they get older, have them chunk the homework. Chunk it means if they have math flashcards they've got to go over, or they've got vocabulary words that they've got to try, instead of doing it all in 2 or 3 hours blocks at home, and that's just stressful, help them do it in chunks. So maybe there's math assignment. While you're sitting there fixing the dinner, they can be flashing just their flashcards to themselves or trading their spelling words to themselves. Do the things that are repetitive that they have to memorize in either your car, you can do it along the way, you can do it as you're waiting for the carpool to pick you up, and then the longer things that take a lot of concentration, do those things at the time when you have to sit down to do the work. We're finding our kids are really getting more and more anxious about it. You have a stressed out kid? Most of us do, but if you have a stressed out children, there's a couple of things that you need to keep in mind. Anytime a child looks really stressed, the first most important thing you do is tell the child, breathe. Just take a breath. Don't say a thing, just breathe. What's so big about that? Seriously, do it yourself. If you take a deep, slow breath from here, what you'll actually do is do the fastest way to relax. Deep, slow breaths from here are instant relaxation. Now you can get the thoughts out of your head and you can start thinking. Just breathe. Try that yourself, parent. If you have a child who's a yeller or you're a yeller, what you could do in your house is come up with a timeout signal. And that just means from now on there's no yelling, it's this instead. Go and take your own timeout, which just means go and calm yourself down. When you're ready, come on back. There's lots of things you can do. There's dozens and dozens of tips. I've worked on the Today Show, Dr. Phil, the doctors, over and over with dozens of ideas, but we do a mistake, and that is we try too many things at once. At this particular expo, you're going to be finding amazing activities that you can do with your child, but if you really want to change your behavior in your family, or your parents' behavior, or your kids' behavior, number one, choose only one activity. Maybe it's the strength talk you want to try, or you want to help your child learn to prioritize or chunk it. Then what you do is write it on your calendar or remind yourself that you're going to keep trying it. If you do it a minute a day for around 21 days, what is going to happen is a habit. A minute a day is easy. What we try to do is take on too much, and it never becomes internalized. What we're trying to do is help our children develop lifelong habits. Everything I told you now are skills that can be taught. They're easy to teach. They're teachable skills, but if your child keeps repeating them, a couple of things happen. Number one, he develops self-reliance. Maybe not at 3, but he will if you keep trying it. Number two, you're creating skills that are life skills. He'll need not only now, but the rest of his life on the job, over in college, always and every through. And number 3 is the battles of you with your child go actually down. Because your child feels better about who and he or she is, you feel better about life in general, and everything goes a heck of a lot smoother. Parenting is a lifelong journey, folks. It's from start to finish, and it takes a lot of forks and a lot of edges along the way. So find the things that work for you. Use your instinct. Absolutely nobody knows your child better than you. and keep applying the same things over again until you get the change that you hope. I hope some of those ideas helped you. I'm on my way to go do the final workshop. Will be the 4th, and I'm absolutely loving every one of them. My website is Michele Borba. There's dozens of books out there, but again, choose just simple things that work for you. Look for the change, and above all else, realize you got one job, and that's to help your child someday learn to thrive without you. So thank you. It's been an honor. Thank you.